Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome into a different sort of accessibility video. This one is more of a discussion about some accessibility things in VR games that I have only seen in less than a handful of games out of what I have played personally. And I want to talk about it because I think if they could be put into more, that may not only make games obviously more accessible to more people, but could maybe potentially make less work for developing it. That's a question mark because I'm not a game dev. I have a list basically of two things that I want to talk about in this video in particular. And the first being kind of like a the only way I can maybe describe it is an auto seated mode, kinda. And the only two games that I have personally played where this is a thing has been Dreadhalls and Ultimex. And when I think with Ultimex you're already gonna understand what I'm getting at, but with Dreadhalls is where I actually first was really paying attention to it. And the first time I played Dreadhalls, I was sitting in my chair, which is right behind me. But I was sitting in my chair playing VR, and I didn't have to do anything. When you first boot up Dreadhalls, everything looks like you have to look up because you're not standing. I was sitting down. So, of course, like, menus and stuff are more up here. They're higher up. But then once you get into the gameplay, everything is exactly where it needs to be. It's all at the correct height, as if you're standing, no matter what. And that is a very good thing. But to test this even further, to make sure I wasn't just kind of seeing things or hoping that it was that way and just mentally only seeing it as that, I later played the game again, and I was just sitting on the ground. I was sitting on a pillow on the ground, which is how I do most things. That's how I'm at this desk right now. And I did it that way too. Again, I had to look up for like the main menu and all that. And then once I got into the main game, boom, I was the exact standing height in game that I needed to be able to play it. Nothing was too high up, nothing was too low. That is amazing, considering that this game came out, I don't know how long ago. Future me will have to put it up on the screen somewhere because I can't remember at the moment. But for the game to come out when it did, and that to be something that's already in the game, is an amazing thing. And I want to see more of it. I wish that we could see more of it, because that would take away from the developers having to make a seated mode and all that, but it would also take away from us, having to go into the settings and hopefully it's a correct seated mode, because I have played some games where seated mode, I can activate it and I still have to use other software to make my height go up a little bit more. Whether that is because of the height of my chair or any of that stuff, which in-game height goes off of where your headset's at. So that could very well have been the case. But, it would be good if that was implemented. And the other game I said was Ultimax. And I think with any game that is, you're inside of a mech or some kind of vehicle, the game is going to automatically be adjusted no matter what. You're always going to be at the perfect height because you're essentially not standing, you're in something. So that something is going to be what's making you be at the correct height. But it was another game that I did want to mention, as I have been kind of playing around with it a bit. And I would honestly love to see more games have that. Now, that obviously opens up another situation. The game now has essentially like an auto-seated mode where I'm always at the correct height no matter what. But then it turns into, does the game have a crouch button? Does the game have a crouch button or some other sort of function that will allow you to crouch in game if you cannot crouch physically? Now, I'm going to bring up a game that just recently, and when I say recently, apparently it happened about the first couple of days of September. I just now found out about it like a week ago, which was Contractors. If you have been around my channel for a while, you know that last year, around this time, roughly, I did a accessibility overview, and I said that the game wasn't really accessible if you had to play seated. It just wasn't. And I, said for various reasons and all that, mainly the fact that you couldn't crouch. If you drop something, you're screwed unless you had very understanding teammates that would grab it and give it back to you. You're not going to be able to grab it yourself. And that, I am very happy to say that if you haven't noticed it, you didn't know about it, you didn't hear about it or anything like me, you're now able to do that. When you start up the game, especially for the first time, you can select that you're going to be playing seated, and then I believe it's turned on by default, but it is also in the settings. You can turn on a virtual crouch, and you basically, whatever stick you turn with, so for me it would be the left stick because I use Southpaw controls. You press back or down on that stick, and then you crouch. You press up or forward, depending on how you want to look at it, and you stand back up. That is in my opinion, an amazing, very non-intrusive. It doesn't cut out any other buttons that could be used or anything like that. It goes in just very nicely. It works with every other setting, every other control, and it is, I would say, perfect. Like, I don't really have any other way of describing it. So I would say for the most part, you can play that game seated now. If you can, you will kind of, it seems, sometimes have to lean forward to get some of like a new ammo clip and things like that. And that's going to depend on your chair. If it doesn't have if you don't have armrests on your chair, then you're probably fine. But going from Contractors, we will actually go into the main thing that I wanted to talk about that actually involves Contractors, aside from the fact that you can now play that game seated. So have at it. If you got it, or like I did, and you've been waiting You can now go play it. So, or if you wanted to, and now you can. But that out of the way, the thing I wanted to talk about was auto switch controls. Now, I mentioned that I play Southpaw controls. So you move with the right stick, you turn with the left. Those people, they move with the left, they turn with the right. And you can go in and you can change that, right? It's always been there. It's been there even since I did my accessibility overview last year. But what I didn't notice back then, or maybe I did and I just forgot about it, which could be a thing, is that whatever hand you grab a gun with, so whether it be your handgun, whether it be a rifle, whatever hand you grab it with is going to be, the controls are going to essentially flip to work with the gun being in that hand. I honestly have not seen that in any other game. Usually it's one or the other. It's Southpaw controls, it's the left trigger is to shoot, and this and this and this, and the buttons flip to that, or it's default and the buttons are this. Never have I seen you be able to just be like, oh, grab the gun with your left-handed controls for the gun. Put it in your right-handed controls for the gun. I've not seen that in any game. Now, I haven't played games like Pavlov, so I cannot really say if that game does the same thing or not. Let me know in the comments, because, yeah, I haven't played it. But this is another thing that is really, really good. Like, really good. You know how much this would cut out having to ask devs to make control schemes? Now, I will still say, customizable controls, so you can have it exactly what is comfortable for you. That would be great. I'm not saying contractors should do that, because I know that game still wants to keep that level of like realistic stuff, which is awesome. I'm saying other games. But what Contractors is doing, sorry about that, what Contractors is doing with that is amazing, and I want other games to do that, or have that, but then have the only control scheme be customizable controls. So you could, especially if it's a more arcadey game, I think you all know what one I'm talking about without me even saying it. Control, so you can have something that's comfortable. There's a reason I don't play certain games anymore, is because the control schemes for me, and I'm sure probably for others as well, are not good. So, okay, I'm not gonna go off on a rant on that, because I know I could. But yes, this, to put it into this video, because it is going on kind of long, auto-seated modes for games, and not just games where it's like, oh, you're in a mech, oh, you're in a vehicle, but any game, to where essentially, if that's in the game, all you got to do is add a crouch button, or a function that will allow the player to crouch, like, again, with the analog stick for Contractors. It's amazing. Implement something like that, then that's all you got to worry about. And then the auto switching controls, it's like, oh, it's in the left-handed controls, it's in the right-handed controls. That works well, because for me, for example, I can, if it's a rifle or something like that and it's an automatic, then I can have it be held by my right hand, steady it with my left, or the left controller, and then be able to do it that way, because I don't have to be super quick on the right trigger like I would with a pistol. And then I have the pistol and I put that in my left hand and I'm super quick with that, So then it works out. Those kind of controls are amazing. Like, they need to be in more. Please. They need to be in more. Not just for me, but for everybody that could be helped by that. It would be great. So, yeah, I'm going to end this video before I end up going on like some weird rant like I am probably known to do. And just say yes. Both these things. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, you're awesome. And I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.